Hi, Clint. Thanks very much for
Hi,
joining us and welcome to the podcast.
thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this episode because I already know a little bit about your story, but for the audience who haven't, I think they're going to really enjoy this, and I'm just interested to hear even more about your story and what you're going to share. Um, so let's talk to me, and I'll let you take it away. What is your story, Clint?
My story is a long one, man. We could go forever on that
Oh,
stuff.
I'm happy. I'm happy to let it go as long as it takes.
Yeah. And I kind of know where your podcast is directed to, so I'll kind of get to that. I've through high school, I knew that college wasn't necessarily like where I wanted to go. I didn't really see a point for the type of person that I was, and so it wasn't even really an option for me. I grew up on a farm in a little small town in Utah, and I was always just taught the value of hard work, and it could get you where you needed to go. Um, but that wasn't something that I knew where it was going to lead me. I just knew that if I worked hard, I would get to somewhere where I wanted to be. So we were just taught to work our butts off from sun up to sundown, and sometimes even a little extra on top of that. So yeah, my brother and I were literally raised on a farm, chasing cows and doing the cowboy thing. I know that's very Western U.S. of me, but that is exactly where I'm
Did
at.
the cowboy hat go with that, or is that optional?
That at the time I did wear it, but I don't wear it anymore. Just doesn't really suit my style anymore. Doesn't go with my t-shirt and jeans
Fair.
look all that much. But yeah, that's basically all I learned. I didn't really care about classes in high school all that much even, but I knew that I had to graduate to get somewhere. I knew most people that I looked at for a job would look at a high school diploma. Um, but I spent a lot of my time in high school drawing and failing some classes here and there because I was too busy drawing instead of learning about the Pythagorean theorem. So I felt like it was more important to me. And then out of high school, I started working manual labor jobs. I did auto body. I was a machinist for a while. And then I landed a job at what most people in our area feel like is a job that you can get and retire from eventually. And it was a good job. It paid pretty well, as far as jobs in the area go, and I was making decent money. But they controlled everything about my schedule, and I kind of hated that. But it was good, honest work. I put my butt into it every day, and uh, earned those paychecks on most of those days. But I was struggling mentally. I had went through a divorce, and so I didn't see my kids every day, and sometimes I would work through the weekends when I was supposed to have my kids. So I wasn't even seeing them on the weekends that I was supposed to have them. And that, man, that kicked me in the head mentally a lot. Uh, and it put me in a terrible spot mentally because I felt like I had to have that job to help provide for my kids that I also couldn't see because of that job. So I was in a weird dilemma for a long time, and being fresh through a divorce, I it was just hard for me to be able to see light at the end of the tunnel when I would go and work as many, like literally we had weeks where we worked 96 hours in a week, and that plays a toll on your body, and it plays a toll on your head too. So uh, I I felt like just working hard at that point wasn't enough for what I wanted. And I knew that I needed to change. And at that time, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I went and got my first couple of tattoos, and I looked at one of those tattoos. I was still doing art here and there, and this is where the arrogant part of me comes out. Is I said, hey, I feel like I can do a better job than that guy who did this for a living. So I found an apprenticeship, and I inserted more hours into my work week than I knew that I had. Slept very little over the next few years, and now I'm a full-time tattoo artist. I have been for about 5 years now, and I control every aspect of my life. I control how much money I make. I control how often I spend time with my kids, and I love everything about it. It's provided such a great thing for my life, and I'm in such a better spot mentally. But that came through that hard work. I knew that I had to temporarily, even I mean, a lot of people don't look at 2 years as temporary, but 2 years is temporary. Doing both jobs and still trying to find time to see my kids and to hang out with them. But now my kids know that, hey, Dad, I've got a field trip I'm going on this day. Can you come with me? And they know that I'll drop what I have that day to go and hang out with them and spend the day with them at whatever. And I can change my stuff around where I need to in order to better spend time with my family and the important things in life.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, you said a few things there that I want to delve a little bit deeper into. Especially the mental health wise, because I feel like with blokes, that we naturally, give us a task and we'll work through it. But often to the detriment of our health and mental
Yeah.
health and physical. But I think the difference between you and a lot of people, especially working in, quite an arduous job, which is a copper mine, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
copper mine. I worked in the smelter.
yeah, I'll definitely want to ask about that as well. But I think you had a vision and a goal in mind. I think a lot of people will go to their job which they hate or not, it doesn't fulfill them or give them the lifestyle they want, but they've got no end game in mind. And I think that was something that you've done different, and it's quite clearly worked out for you in the end. There is the happy ending because
Yeah.
yeah, you went through, all the tribulation, so to speak, and I've come out on the other side with a life of, that fits your lifestyle and and what you want to get out of life. You've become sovereign over your time, so to speak. um so the first thing actually I want to chat about, and this is just from a curiosity point of view, but what's it like working in a copper mine? I mean, like, how the heck do you even end up in a copper mine?
So Utah is home to one of the largest open pit copper mines in the world. You can literally view it from space.
Oh,
You can
wow.
see, yeah. It's massive, and I think right now it's the second largest. It was the first largest for a long time, and I think somewhere in Africa overtook, but that's neither here nor there. Um, it's it's not cool. I'll tell you that. To give a mention of how not cool it was, every 6 months we would have a health checkup. Like, actual doctors came and checked up on each person that worked at this place. They would monitor how much heavy metal toxicity was in your blood. They would take X-rays of your chest to make sure that you weren't constantly inhaling those same metals and putting them into your lungs. Um, and they would check your hearing and all of those things. And that's great that they're checking on those things. But when you start to realize that from an employee standpoint, you're like, it's just a matter of time until I get these things.
Yeah.
So this place is killing me, for a paycheck. Literally killing me. I know a lot of people say that figuratively, but this place is literally, like, if you work out there long enough, you will end up with cancer.
Yeah.
You will end up with lead poisoning and those kinds of things. The industry is as safe as you can make it with respirators and those kinds of things, but it's just a matter of time. Like, if you sit with lead on your skin all day long, you're going to get lead poisoning.
Yeah.
Uh, um, so that not only were those kind of conditions, weird to view from the outside. But then you turn around and you literally work in a place that melts metal and is, I mean, there's certain buildings there that the inside temperature was 140 degrees, and I'm not exaggerating that at
That's
all.
wow. That's pretty intense, I imagine.
You're told to work for 20 to 30 minutes and then go and rest in an air conditioned room for 15 minutes and drink water. And we
Yeah.
would do that for a 12-hour shift.
12 hours. Flip's
Yeah.
sake. Good grief. You're
So
still smiling.
yeah. Just because I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
But it was crazy to see that to me, because I like, while the money was good, I still didn't get to choose when I went and saw my kids. I missed their birthdays. I missed soccer games. I missed all of this stuff, and for a paycheck to provide for them. And so it was like, what is more important? Is it to pay and provide for these kids and to put a roof over their head and food in their mouth, or is it to see them, to spend time with them, to help raise them and to help make them into better human beings?
Yeah.
And I hated having that ultimatum. I hated feeling like it was at odds with each other, because it shouldn't be to me.
Yeah. I think no parent would want to be in that position. So m- my question is the if you're doing a 12-hour shift in a mine with all these like potential health hazards, I know you said you were going through a divorce at the time as well, plus you've got the natural stresses of being a parent. I mean, from a mental health perspective, especially being a bloke, what kept you going, and also what did you do to ensure that, as best you could, that your mental health maintained itself, or at least stayed on a steady footing? Because I know, for especially for blokes, we'll just crack on with the job, and to hell with our physical condition and our mental health along the way for
Yeah.
the sake of that paycheck. So what did you do?
I did what any man does, and I kept going.
Yeah.
um, it's funny because being raised on the farm, like I said, we were taught the value of hard work, and uh, my grandpa had a saying, and anybody in our huge family knows this saying to heart. And you would get hurt, and people would say it to you because of my grandpa, and the words were, "Walk it off."
Hmm.
And I would get hurt in soccer growing up, and I would my family would yell from the sideline at that point, like, "Walk it off, get up and walk it off. You've got to get moving."
Yeah.
And it wasn't a downplay on me being hurt physically or emotionally. It was That was how my solution came, was doing what was necessary, getting back up, getting back on the horse, literally and figuratively, getting back on that horse and moving. I think a lot of people end up shutting down when they feel that kind of mental stress, and they stop going to work, or they stop doing things from a productive standpoint. And that's when you lose it. When you stop going and working out, when you stop participating in the activities that make you better, that's when you lose it, and that's when you start to really go downhill.
Yeah, 100%. The analogy that just popped into my head there is that, life is kind of like a bike. You always need to be moving, whether that be slowly or fast. But, if you
Yeah,
stop, you're going to fall off and you're going to hurt yourself. Um,
definitely.
yeah. And I mean, like, even today, as prior to us coming on here and having a chat, I was saying that I went for a walk today, and even just a walk, I did like, I think a 7 mile walk, and just what it does for clearing your head,
Yeah.
especially if you listen to a good podcast, which reminds me, I did listen to your your episode when you were a guest on Colt Gordon's podcast for the mental health one. So go and check that one out. That is intense, but you'll walk away with some very good perspectives and ideas on that one, folks. Clint has a lot to share. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to delve into that into detail, but yeah, check that one out. It's very, very good. That's the Colt Gordon podcast. So I really like that in the just keep going, and I especially, have done that in the past. I used to, I'm not in my current job role, but at one point I was working, over 90 hours a week and on very little sleep, and it was consistent. I mean, like that, it very nearly broke me, to be honest. But
Yeah.
it is just that voice at the back of your head, just keep going, isn't it? But probably the first bit of advice, actually, this is the advice I want to get your perspective on. What would you say to people? I mean, even especially blokes who are in that situation. They're potentially in some sort of dilemma, and you know, they need to provide for their family. But these are, we live in extreme times, and they may hate the job they're at, and it is just a case of get back on that horse. But from an attitude and from a mental health perspective, what advice would you give to a young man or woman in that regard?
Um, I I think that we all need to have a vision for our life of how it can get better.
Mm,
Whether you can make your life better physically, or whether you can change your job and change your entire life through those things, we need to have this overall arching vision of what we want our life to look like in an ideal, perfect situation. For some people, hey, I only want to work 40 hours. I don't want to work a minute more than that. And I want to spend the rest of my time with my family. Well, that's great. So make sure that that 40 hours is really effective, and that you can hang out with your family effectively after those things. Make sure that that 40 hours provides enough money for what you actually need for you and your family. Um, and if your thing is, hey, I know that right now this job, if I only work 40 hours, isn't going to cut it. I have to work 50 hours at this job to make sure that I provide for my family. Make sure you do that first, but be present after. You've got 10 less hours than the other guy. Make sure that you spend that time effectively with your family, your wife, your kids, your friends, even. And you're present in those things, because we waste enough of our life trying to provide for ourselves and our family. We don't need to waste the minutes that we have with them.
yeah, that's that's really powerful. I really like that, having that. What's your vision? What do you actually want to achieve out of life?
Yeah.
Are you just wasting your time for a paycheck? Like, what's the end goal here? I really like that. But this actually ties into a question I was going to ask later on, but I feel like it would be appropriate to ask it now. And you say that, what is your vision? Did you always envision yourself being a tattoo artist, or did that just
No.
happen? Have you, well, a question actually I'd want to ask prefacing that is, have you always been creative?
Yeah. I've always been creative. I've always been into art. Like I said, I failed classes in high school because I was too busy drawing instead of learning, which was just what my mind wanted to do. I just didn't think that I could make any money in art. You look around and you see guys that sell paintings for $1 million, but they're not the type of art that I do. Those are those weird anomalies that I don't want to talk about right now, because that's a whole different subject. But I didn't know that I would do anything with art until after I'd started at the mine. I was in my late 20s, um, before I even thought about tattooing. And by the time I started tattooing, I was really late 20s. I'm 37 right now, and I've been a full-time tattooer for 5 years. So that gives you a measure of, like, I didn't find this right out of high school. I didn't know my path. I didn't even think about tattooing until 28, 29 years old. And then I turned around and I knew, all right, like, that's the next step. I don't know if that's the final step, but that's my next step. Um, And so while I did have an overarching vision, it didn't necessarily include tattooing at the time, until I found tattoo.
That's very cool. What I like about that is that I think a lot of people get stuck in the mindset of, well, I can't change. This is me. Of this is my lot in life. I honestly think a lot of the time that that's an excuse. There are obviously some exceptions, but it's more fear holding you in place. It's something that Colt Gordon says in his podcast that really, really resonated with me was, familiar hells are preferable to strange heavens, and that knocked me a lot because I was kind of like, crap, yeah, what am
Yeah,
I? Even in my own life, what am I happy to sit in, even if I don't like it, but it's familiar compared to better things, but it's strange and it's the unknown. So that's what I like about your story, and especially in transitioning from a steady paycheck, quite it's safe, but
yeah,
you're going to something that's totally new. You don't know if you're gonna, when the next customer is gonna come in and decide, yeah, I want a tattoo. Obviously, there's a booking process, but
yeah.
supply and demand and all that. Um, so my question then would be, how did you know? Like, yes, you had your vision. Yes, you've always been creative, and you decide, yes, this is what you want to do. But how did you know within yourself that yes, now is the time? Because I feel like a lot of people like need that little nudge, or they're looking for a sign, or they're kind
Yeah.
of, I'm too scared to make that leap of faith. Like, I'm not sure of my abilities to succeed here. So in your own circumstances, what was the day or the moment you realized, no, I'm going to leave and I can do this?
So the first time I realized that uh, I could I could make it tattooing, um, I had a Saturday off from the mine, and I was working tattooing, and I tattooed all day long, and I made, in that one single day, I made almost what I made at the mine. And that clicked my head into, maybe this can be a real thing, and maybe I can do this full time. And so I had set up, I didn't want to be stupid about it. I've got 3 kids that I have to provide for. I didn't want to just drop it right there and run off. So um, I said to myself, okay, I want to have 6 months worth of every single bill that I have. And I cut every single excess bill out of my life. I didn't have internet at my house. I didn't have any TV services. I didn't have any of the extras. Um, I cut everything from my life that I didn't need. And I said, I want to have 6 months worth of bills in savings. And the day that I have that, I'm going to go and walk in and turn in my 2 weeks to quit. Um, and if you're going to be stupid in life, you better be strong in life. So uh, I'm one of the really stupid and also really strong ones. It isn't, I didn't necessarily do things correctly. I didn't do things the best way, but I did them the best way for me. I saved up my X amount of dollars by working both jobs at once, and doing that very, I knew that I had to pour every bit of me into those things for that temporary time. Um, and literally the day that I put that last dollar into savings that I needed, I walked in to the mine, and I told them, hey, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice right now. And I'd been telling people like, hey, I'm working on this. This is where I'm going. And everybody told me how stupid I was.
Yeah.
Uh, Everybody said, dude, you're quitting a really good paying job that you can just sit back and you can retire at. And to me, that shows the effort of most people, because I know that life can be better than just that. I know that there's more to my life in particular. And everybody has their own, but I know that you can always make your life a little better. So to me, I wasn't stupid, and I had a couple friends along the way that believed in me, but every 95% of the people that I knew, especially the ones that I worked with at the mine, told me that I was dumb.
Yeah. I not for a moment do I think you're dumb. I think you're a very intelligent bloke. But do you feel like though that I'm not trying to take a swipe at those people because I'm sure they were great guys. But do you feel like that's more a fear thing? It's kind of like if Clint succeeds, then it's obvious if we put the effort in, we could succeed. But it's safe to stay here. It's easy. It's what we know. Do you feel like that's maybe where that came from when they said you were dumb for leaving?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I definitely think people feel like once they get to that safety zone of a good paying job that they just have to go into and collect their paycheck every week, I feel like they don't want to stretch that at all. They don't even want to poke that, and see if there's anything better out there. And that's okay. The world needs those people too. Not everyone can go. If we all became tattoo artists, we would all be a bunch of idiots at this point. So um, the world needs all types of people. Not everybody's built for what you're built for. Not everybody's built for what I'm built for. Um, but I can tell you that if you feel it in your heart and you feel that passion behind it, and you know without a doubt that you can create a better life for yourself, you need to go and do it. You have an obligation to go and do it, not only for yourself but for those people around you. Because I've had multiple people, since I have quit my job, I've had multiple people follow suit. I've had friends say, dude, you've inspired me. And I had a friend last year, right before the COVID stuff started going. He quit his job right before that,
Oh
and he was
wow.
like, "Man, I'm excited. You've got me talked into this," and I didn't talk him into it. I just shared with him my experiences, and
Yeah.
I said, I don't know, man, because you don't want, like, I do want people to go and have a amazing life, but I also don't want people to step into danger. Um, and he started business at the worst at absolute time.
Oh yeah.
And I sat down and had lunch with him the other day, and he he's had some hard times in the last 12 months, but he's almost caught up to where he was business wise. He's almost making what he was at a job, and he knows that he's going to hit that this year, and I don't have a doubt in my head that he'll hit that this year because he went out of his way to make those things happen. My wife is working on quitting her job, and she's doing it much smarter than me because I've already been through the process, and I can say, hey, these are the things that I failed on, and this is what sucked, and this is what we have to watch out for. How can we do those things better for you?
Yeah, that's very cool. I mean, I'm certainly in that position as well, so I know roughly what you at least experienced in that. I'm in it's yeah, it's a well-paying job. It's safe, it's comfortable, it's what I know. I'm officially 11 years in the job as of today. Um, so, but I've also got a job offer in the south of France to go and work on a super yacht. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it's paying me double essentially, but obviously the work isn't guaranteed, if you know what I mean. You would go from boat to
Yeah,
boat, so although it's very high paying, you know I've no doubt in my mind that I would succeed, and it's going to be a lot of hard work. But I'm at that point where I need to either leave or commit to this job. So that's certainly, it's just interesting that you've brought that up. That's something that I'm wrestling with as well. But on a side note, just for you and your wife, I really enjoy those radness talks you do. Those are
yeah,
sick. Those are very, very
thank
good.
you very much.
I always enjoy seeing them. Man, I think you should definitely like make a page out of that or something, because obviously only your like Facebook friends and stuff can see that, and the wisdom you two
Yeah,
guys share is just insane. It's great.
we've talked about doing a YouTube version of it, so it's out there at all times.
Yeah,
But we just haven't done it yet. We need to switch over and get that into gear,
yeah. I'm looking forward to that
and go
day.
from there. Good. Yeah, we'll make it happen.
100%. So probably the next thing I'd like to have a chat about is essentially what age did you say you were? 37 now?
Yeah, 37.
37. So given that you've you were raised on a farm, you've worked in a copper mine, which, bar you, I don't know anyone who's worked in a mine. And you've done this, incredibly brave transition to being a tattoo artist, while going through the divorce, while, being a parent and all that comes with that. And all the other curveballs that life throws. What would be your advice to um people who are just leaving school or leaving college and they're now like kind of a deer in the headlights now? What do I do with my life? Because I feel like it can be quite intimidating because that first time you walk out of school or university or college, it's like crap, it's all on me now. Somebody's always told me what time to be at class. Somebody's always told me, be here, do that. Now I'm my own man or woman, and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
right, well, I need to make something of my life now, or do something. What would be your advice to them?
I think first and foremost, you need to understand that your life is your responsibility, um, and whether you view that as a bad or a good thing, 100% of your life is your responsibility. If you view yourself as having a terrible life, that's your responsibility to change it. If you view yourself as having a wonderful life, that's your responsible to upkeep that. So if you hate your job because you listened to the people that told you that it was stupid if you left your job, then you deserve it. You deserve hating your job. Uh, it's your responsibility to take that into your own hands and realize those things and realize that you can change those things.
Yeah. So having some ownership of your circumstances. Uh, you know, I think that's a good one. So I think it's very easy and convenient to blame other people. Like I had a terrible upbringing, or my boss is horrible, or I went through this traumatic experience, or this, that, and the other. It's easy to palm off responsibility and the need to take messy action, to improve your personal circumstances. It's easy to say, well, it's that guy's fault or that woman's fault or whatever, that I'm the way I am and nothing I can't change. Um, I've said this on my own podcast before, but I think that the moment you take personal responsibility and accountability, it's quite liberating because it means you can do something about it. You're now in
Yeah.
charge. You're the master of your fate, the captain of your own soul, so to speak. And yeah, I think we're on the same wavelength with that one. I think the moment you stop playing victim and the moment you know just get stuck into, yeah, life is occasionally a bit tough, but at the same time there's a lot to celebrate with it. And I think that, kind of like the whole bike analogy again, there's no point just sitting still on a bike. You need to keep going
Yeah.
no matter what the
Yeah.
circumstances. And then I think that, your life story is a perfect example of that, in that you went through some very, very tough times. Like there's no denying that. But like look where you are now with, a good work-life balance, an incredible story to tell, and a wonderful family as well that you get to spend time with. So man, I've enjoyed this chat today. It's been very inspirational for me. Um, if the audience want to hear more about, you and your tattooing, and eventually the I Am Radness chats on YouTube with your wife, where can they find you?
Right now, you can find me on Instagram. Is probably the easiest place that I'm the most active. And it's not just tattoos. I give insight on how I got my life to where it's at and where I came from and all of those things. So if you pay attention to those things on Instagram, it's I am Radness on Instagram. Easiest place to find me on Facebook. It's just under Clint McInnes. And when we do make a YouTube channel, I will get that channel to you as soon as we do. So you can
Perfect.
keep in touch on those things also.
No worries at all. I'll put your Instagram as well in the show notes so people can just get a convenient click as well. And then when you do eventually get your YouTube channel, I'll put the YouTube link in the show notes as well and broadcast
Yeah.
that because I think you have a very important message to share as well as your wife. The insights that you provide, I do enjoy. Looking forward to that weekly live session that you have. But yeah, I just want to say thanks a million again for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your story with me and the audience. I've benefited immensely from it, and I'm sure they have as well. So once again, thank you very much, Clint.
Thank you for having me on. It was an honor to be here. Looking forward to sharing the message a little more.
100%, brother. Right. All the best. Thank you very much.
Yep.